Let us return to yesteryear, to the sleepy little town of Lockhart, Texas, where a small group of Texas modelers got together and decided to put ducted fan modeling on the map. Mike Kulzik was there with his scratch-built Saab Viggen. And this day, the engine choice was the KMB 7.5 and the Turbax 1 fan unit. Tom Cook's legendary F4 Phantom used this setup. Larry Wolf was there with his A4 Skyhawk. And Bob Ziegler showed up with his F100 Super Sabre, along with the other jets that would help shape the future of ducted fan modeling. "11 years later, and the site is Bergstrom Air Force Base, home of the famous Outlaws, the F-16 Fighter Squadron. Day, Saturday, September 11th, 1993, 0800. Pilots are doing last-minute tests and inspections of aircraft. Carl Spurlock and Rick Schaefer work on Vernon Montgomery's F-15 Eagle. Harry Wood was out on the flight line with his new Cessna Citation, testing his new brakes. Bob Fiorenzi prepared the F-14 for flight. Colonel Bob Thacker fueled his scratch-built BD-10. Lynn McCauley and crew tested the engines on the massive B-58 Hustler. Patty Generelli and Bob Violet inspect the T-33. Todd Nicholson tacks the engines on his MiG29 Fulcrum. Todd Nicholson showed up from Costa Mesa, California with his MiG29 Fulcrum. This is a DCU, uses 2 OS-91 engines and 2 Ramtac fans. The retractable landing gear are custom made. Airtronics Infinity 600A radio for guidance. Note the color scheme of this aircraft, which is patterned after the Ukraine Air Show team. And Todd taxis to the active runway. Tremendous aircraft, excellent scale appointments. And the MiG-29 is powered up and down the runway. Note the elevators, and the MiG-29 rotates. Gear up. Todd's off for another flight. The aircraft weighs 28 pounds, has a 74-inch wingspan, and is 96 inches in length. There he comes on a low flyby, and climb out with a roll. Nice and smooth. Gear checked and down, and Todd prepares for landing. Todd took Critics' Choice Award sponsored by Powermaster Fuel. And here the 29 comes back in. Elevator pressure, slowing it up. Real nice. Look at that nice soft touchdown. Excellent job by Todd Nicholson. And the MiG29 returns to the deck. Charlie Fondon showed up with his XP70 Valkyrie. This is the first aircraft of its size to reach 2,000 miles per hour and 70,000 feet of altitude. Charlie, who is employed by General Dynamics, is a professional model builder as he builds the models for wind tunnel testing for General Dynamics, which leads to his tremendous experience to build an aircraft of this caliber. The Valkyrie is piloted by Top Gun pilot Lee Rice as he taxis for another flight. Valkyrie is cleared and on takeoff roll. And the Valkyrie takes to the air. Nice takeoff. Climbing out strong, considering it uses only a single engine and fan unit. Lined up, fly down the runway. In 1966, one of the two XB-70s was destroyed during a publicity flight when a F-104 starfighter collided with the vertical stabilizers. Nice flyby. Notice how smooth and accurate this aircraft flies. And coming in for a landing. Unfortunately, this bomber never made it into production or active service. Now we're going to have this landing on slow motion. He gets a little behind Lee. He gets her back level. And now you see him pull her back over to the left, hard left to level her up for a very nice correction. Good adjustment on the landing. Now the Valkyrie taxis back to the tarmac. This is Jerry Coddles Maverick Pro, weighing in at 13 3/4 pounds, utilizes BVM 91 and fan unit for power, and a JR radio for guidance system. Jerry comes from Metropolis, Illinois, home of the Superman fan flight. And when Jerry's not flying, he's also the fixed-based operator for the Metropolis Airport, where he also runs JC Hobbies. And here Jerry goes, takeoff roll, and the Maverick takes to the air. Jerry received Best Sport Finish using dry set model markings. Nice 4-point roll. Going vertical. A nice vertical roll. And Jerry's finishing up a nice slow roll. Gear down, short final approach, and nice touchdown. Notice the brakes there. Very accurate, very realistic. Bob Violet with his T33. This aircraft uses a BVM 91 with BVM fan unit. Notice the detail markings on it, how the aircraft appears to be weathered and stained from actual flight use. This is one of the most accurately scaled aircraft on the market today. There's the servo compartment and electronics layout. And Bob and Patty are preparing for another flight for this T-33. Bob Violet is one of the most accomplished jet modelers in the world today. And T-33 on the takeoff roll. Rotate, gear up. Comes a nice slow roll. The T-33 is a larger aircraft, but very stable, larger, easier to see, but has very gentle and very trainer-like flight qualities that make it a good beginner. And rolls inverted into a split S and pulls out the bottom. Rolls inverted, and making another power-up flyby down the runway. High-speed flyby, low flyby. See how quick that aircraft is really moving. Now he comes in for a landing. Nice, very scale landing. Good job, Bob. If we could get Rich Urovich to step out of the way, you'd be hard-pressed to tell this T-33 from its full-scale counterpart. And notice the speed brakes. Here's Carl Spurlock with his F20 Tiger Shark in NATO markings. And Carl hails from Des Moines, Iowa. And the F-20's been cleared for another flight. Carl is one of the smoothest and most scale-like pilots on the jet circuit today. It was no surprise that Carl won the award for Best Scale Flight at this, the 11th Annual Southwest Fan Flight. You notice that takeoff, very scale-like, nice, gentle right turnout. And now you can see why he's nicknamed Mr. Smoothie. Nice low flyby. The F-20 is powered with the OS91 and Byron fan, weighs in at 14 pounds, has a 55-inch wingspan. And here Carl comes in for landing, slowing it up good, very scale, nice job by Carl Spurlock. The F-20 taxis back to the hangar. When we return, we're going to take a look at one of the latest innovations to jet modeling.
Hello, I'm Kent Nogi from Paso Robles, California, and I have here with me one of Bob Violet Model's new Ultra Vipers. It's unique in the fact that it has installed in it one of the JPX T240 turbines, an engine made in France. It's the only one of its kind in that it has the engine completely enclosed with ducting reflecting a performance package. The overall model weight, including the brake system and all that, is 14 pounds, 8 ounces. All up flight weight with the oil and the fuel it's carried is in the neighborhood of about 15.8 to 16 pounds at takeoff. The engine runs on liquid propane, and it burns 46 ounces of fuel in about 5 minutes, so the flight profile right now is a little bit short. The construction really is basic, straightforward ducted fan construction. There are some specially fabricated parts inside to facilitate the engine to be enclosed, as well as ducting to increase performance. It's been flown 4 times. The relative speed right now is in the 180 mile an hour plus category, and that's pretty realistic. We haven't actually had it on a radar gun or anything, but it's deceptive speed because of how quiet it is in relation to the ducted fan systems. The The net difference when you take the two systems, two propulsion systems together, including fuel, if you put the fuel that you would in a ducted fan airplane and the fuel in this, the overall distance, the overall difference in weight is about 12 ounces. So the weight difference is not significant to the airframe. Even with the fuel tank, which has to be located way up in the forward section of the airplane, makes the CG seem pretty far nose heavy, but the flight characteristics of the airplane have been just like you would expect in a regular ducted fan airplane. It's does have a stainless steel tailpipe and some other features that are right now proprietary that will be available in a kit conversion sometime in the future. Bob has plans to convert a number of the airplanes that he has in his kit line to a turbine application. So as the engine progresses and the development progresses in that area, so will the kit design, and you'll see more of these somewhere down the road to as part of a really new, exciting sensation in the hobby. One of the neat features about the whole thing is if you close your eyes and listen to it, it sounds just like a real jet. You really don't know what size it is, but the sound is extremely fascinating. Along the lines of safety, the manufacturer of the engine in France, the JPX company, has been very receptive to the AMA's concerns, and just in the time frame that we have been operating the engine, have had very, very good communication with them. They have features in the system that, one, they limit the RPM of the engine by an electronic control unit, which is kind of like a black box. They also have a remotely controlled shutoff valve that is operated from the transmitter, that once it closes the valve, it can't open it again, so you have no chance of reversing the process. And also you can, when you throttle down and close the throttle trim, you shut the needle valve off into the gas regulator block, and essentially the engine is then dormant. Now you still have a hot section, you still have a very hot engine that you have in the airframe, but it poses no real danger in that state. It's just the idea that the fuel is the main concern of if there is a problem of getting the fuel shut off so that the tank is contained. It's a very strong stainless steel type tank, and has a nice, very heavily duty machined on and off valve, one-way valve, which are always thinking of safety. Some of the uniqueness about flying a turbine as opposed to a ducted fan is we do have to learn what we call throttle management or power management. The transition time from low power to full thrust on this turbine can be as much as 4 seconds. So it does mean that you're planning in your pattern or setting up for a landing, you need to be able to be aware or flying ahead of the airplane a little bit, so that if you notice that you're going to be short, you can add power a little sooner. Now you don't need a lot of power, just a small 20% increase in the throttle stick movement will very significantly increase the thrust of the engine. And then you have to back off again accordingly, probably before you would normally in the ducted fan process, to get the thing slowed down again. So there is a flying characteristic, or you do have to be thinking about what you're doing just like you would in a real jet. So it makes it exciting as well as very challenging.
Tom Cook brought out his new Jet Model Products T33. This aircraft weighs 22 pounds, has an 85-inch wingspan. Notice the incredible scale detail. This is a complete kit with all panel lines and detail pre-molded into the fiberglass. Uses OS91 for power with a Dynamax fan, Jet Model Products retracts, and Jet Model Products exhaust system. Notice the flaps there, all the gear doors. Excellent aircraft. And now Tom prepares the aircraft, starting the engine, getting ready for another flight. The T33 is on her way. Nose getting light, and away she goes. Nice takeoff. Gear up. And the downwind flyby, executing a slow roll. Again, pulls her vertical. Rolls it over and preparing for another downwind pass. That's her gain airspeed. Levels off. How smooth that airplane's flying. And back in for a landing. Slowing her up. And nice touchdown. Tom taxis a big T33 back to the tarmac. On September the 13th, 1971, James Beatty piloted the BD-5 Micro on its first flight. In its original form, the plane was powered by a 40 horsepower 3-cylinder engine in a pusher configuration and was designed to be built by amateur pilots from a kit. Soon after, a jet-powered version, as seen here, was under development. This aircraft is commonly known as the BD-5J, the jet version. Here you see it doing stalls, and it was used a lot in air show routines. Its success on the airshow circuit has led to its popularity as a model project. This model of the BD-5J is piloted by Ruben Ramos. The kit manufacturer is DCU. This aircraft weighs 11.5 pounds, has a 60-inch wingspan, and here goes Ruben in the BD-5J. It's a very quick little ducted fan aircraft. Notice there how quick it is. Nice roll. Uses OS91 for power and a Dynamax fan. Nice stall turn. Doing a high-speed downwind flyby. Some consecutive rolls. In June at the Austin Jet Rally, this aircraft did 140 miles an hour downwind and 126 miles an hour upwind. And later in the weekend, this aircraft unfortunately was destroyed by radio failure. And the BD-5J is back in for a nice landing. John Johnson with his F4 Phantom, manufactured from a George Miller kit, weighs in at 14 pounds, has a 49-inch wingspan. It is in tricolor Vietnamese colors for the Vietnam War. And this aircraft was also featured on the cover of RC Report. And here John prepares her for another flight. Uses OS91 engine for power with a Byron fan. Uses a Futaba 7-channel radio for guidance. And the F4 taxis to the active runway. Nice weathering, good scale appointments on this aircraft. Now the takeoff roll, and John rotates a little hard right in the edge of a stall there. He gets over, cleaned up, gets the gear up. Now she's getting underway. Folks was flying in a heavy wind that day in a crosswind, and sometimes it makes these aircraft very difficult to handle. John did an excellent job of recovering that aircraft and saved what could have been a destroyed aircraft. Nice scale flyby. Nice turn back to final. And back in for landing. Nice, excellent landing. Good job, John. Ivan Schomer showed up with his Enforcer DF2. This aircraft is converted from a Balsa USA Enforcer kit, which is designed as a pusher with a regular propeller engine. Designed for the ducted fan use, this aircraft makes a great trainer application in entry level to ducted fans with excellent performance characteristics. This aircraft uses an OS91 with Byron fan. There goes a high-speed downwind flyby. Very smooth. Ivan claims a top speed of 188 miles an hour downwind and a slow speed of 12 miles an hour. Aircraft weighs 10.5 pounds, uses ROM air retracts, and a 5-channel radio system for guidance. There's a nice flyby. And here Ivan pushes it through a nice loop, very symmetrical. Good power to weight ratio with this aircraft. Hank Stafford from Lubbock, Texas brought in this Regal Eagle powered with an OS91 Byron fan unit. Weighs in at 12 pounds. Here Hank prepares it for another flight. This aircraft has been flying for 5 years, and everybody in Lubbock, Texas has learned to fly with this airplane. And as of this meet, this aircraft has logged its 105th flight. And Hank's up and away. Here's a high-speed flyby, downwind, braking left, turning, going around. There's the nice tight radius turn with that aircraft. Here he comes back into the wind. Another flyby and going vertical. And he's pulling her right over the top, right through the bottom. Nice loop, very symmetrical. And here Hank is pushing it through the paces, doing some horizontal 8s. Notice how he rolls over and he'll pull through the bottom half of the loop. And now Hank's back in on short final approach and nice landing. This is Tim Farrell's ETA F89. This is a new kit from ETA, and it's an ideal jet trainer aircraft for the beginner in ducted fan. Notice the excellent detail in the color scheme there. This is a United States Air Force Alaskan color scheme. Tim was unable to fly the aircraft for this event, but brought it for static. Notice the large wheels that are true to scale. Nice cockpit detail. This aircraft has excellent slow flight characteristics, where in a 10-mile-an-hour wind, this aircraft can lift off the runway in 10 to 15 feet. And now we have Eldon's aircraft, his F89, preparing for a flight, identical to Tim's that we just told you about. Weighs in at 12.5 pounds. And there Eldon goes, gear up. Notice the short takeoff distance. Notice how this aircraft will be actually hovering and appear motionless right there, showing the excellent slow flight characteristics and the low wing loading of the aircraft. That's what makes it an ideal trainer for a beginner jet pilot. This aircraft, as you saw there, has been clocked at an amazing 2 miles an hour forward head speed, which right there is probably very close to that, as it's almost motionless. Nice roll, he's just playing in the wind. For those of you unaware of the acronym ETA, it stands for Eldon's Tough Aircraft, which their company prides themselves on good quality aircraft. Here we go on a flyby, checking the gear down. Eldon also took closest to target speed with a actual speed of 27 miles an hour with a target of 29. Mike Smith showed up with his F18 Hornet from a yellow aircraft kit and was brought for static display only. Mike had done a lot of work, but it wasn't ready for the competition. Notice the hydraulic lines there on the retract system. Excellent scale detail on the landing lights. Notice the full-scale landing gear system, the knuckle knee joint there on that F18, as this aircraft is used to fly off aircraft carriers and has to take very punishing landings. Uses a pair of OS91s for power, Dynamax fans. Excellent job by Mike. We can't wait to see this bird fly. Look at that excellent cockpit detail. Rear view, notice the dive brake there, the speed brake, all functional. When we return, we have an interview with Lowell Wexler and his scratch-built SR71 Blackbird.
Hi, my name is Lowell Wexler, and I'm from Valencia, California. And what I've done here is constructed two SR71s. This is one of them that are all built from scratch. This is a wood-constructed model, all framed up and covered. The airplane is 108 inches long, has a 58-inch span. It is 1/12 scale. It's powered by two OS77s with Dynamax fan units, and it has 14 JR servos in it. The detail on the airplane has been taken off of both the real airplane and photos that I've gotten from various books. There are 138 strips of mylar across the top and 138 on the bottom that make up the ribbing, and the panel lines are all done in striping tape. The landing gear is all scratch made. We machined it ourselves. It has oleo struts on it, as you can see, all the way around. And an interesting tidbit is when we were doing testing of this model at Lockheed in Palmdale, we found that we kept blowing a center tire out of the mains at approximately 42 miles an hour. The funny part is that on the real airplane, when they were doing testing, if you scale up the speed, that they would blow the center tires at the same speed. Hence, we went ahead and put solid rubber tires on, and it solved our problem. Along with the landing gear, the lights come on as the gear drops down. You'll notice that the landing lights, the staggered lights as the real one is, will come on as the gear locks into place. Also, in the canopy area, they're all radio controlled as well. They will lift and lock with a micro switch as they come down. A little pin comes through the very top center, locks into the fuselage itself. The cockpits are scratch done. They started out as a French plastic cockpit kit and were completely modified and redone, so we call it scratch. Every detail that's in this one is on the real one. We've had pilots from Lockheed that have flown this airplane look at it and just be in utter amazement that it came out so well. Lockheed has used this airplane, as a matter of fact, themselves at several of their showings of the Blackbird. The screening effect that you see on here is actually balsa underneath with a cutout area and actual screening laid right in there and set flush. It's covered over, and the entire airplane is of a balsa covering, glassed, and painted with K&B.
This is Kent Nogie's T33 from a Bob Violet Models kit. The engine is a Bob Violet Models 91 fan BVM. Has an 80-inch wingspan and length of 69 inches. And here Kent taxis out for another flight. The color scheme of this aircraft is from the Shooting Star show team, back when this aircraft was the popular trainer it was. And here Kent goes, powered up. Nice liftoff. Gear up. Doing a nice 4-point roll. Notice how straight the line is and how accurate that maneuver was. Doing a vertical roll. Here's a nice slow roll. Here's Bob Fiorenzi's F-117 Stealth Fighter from a yellow aircraft kit. Uses 2 OS-91s for power with Dynamax fans. The weight is 24 pounds. Has an effective wingspan of 58 inches. Notice the swept wingtips as to where it's an average. There you see the twin engine configuration. This aircraft uses a drag chute, has brakes, functional gear doors, and hopefully will be released in spring of 1994. And the Stealth is ready for another mission. The design of this particular aircraft is such that when it approaches radar, it cannot be detected, that it bounces off of it. Rotates, gear up, and bobs away. Very unique aircraft. Very difficult to see this aircraft and read its solid color, its silhouettes, and sometimes it's difficult to tell if it's coming towards you or away from you. There's a high-speed flyby. This aircraft really moves out. Looks like Bob's lost a little pressure in the retract system. Nice roll, and back in for a landing. A little fast touchdown. Bob handles it well. Out comes the chute. Excellent job by Bob Fiorenzi. If you've ever seen one of these at an air show, very scale, excellent aircraft. Vernon Montgomery with his Byron F-16 Falcon as he prepares for another flight. Powered up, hard vertical climb, executes a roll, back into flight, turn downwind. Here he comes on a high-speed flyby. You're going to see this F-16 fly kind of unscale-like as Vernon really kind of rings it out, does some hovering with it, and some aerobatic maneuvers usually reserved for propeller-driven aircraft. Nice turn back downwind. Aircraft weighs 12 pounds, uses a Rossi 90 for power. There's a tail slide, and he's actually hovering that jet into the wind. The wind velocity this day is about 25 miles an hour. But you can see the jets perform, and this is actually a fan jet and not a true ducted fan, where it's able to recover from the stalls a lot quicker than the ducted fan aircraft would. Use Futaba radio for guidance. There's an example of some slow flight. Gear down, now he powers up, gear up, cleans up, and flies out of the slow flight configuration. And here Vernon comes in for a kind of hot landing, slows it up. Nice touchdown. At just about every jet fly in the country, you'll find Carl Spurlock. He flies F-15s, A-7s, F-16s, and F20 Tiger Sharks. We caught up with Carl to find out more about him and his aircraft.
Okay, I'm Carl Spurlock from Des Moines, Iowa. We come down to the Southwest Fan Fly this year and brought a few planes with us, kind of show you some of them that we've got. Okay, this is the Byron Originals F-15 Eagle. It's a approximately 24-pound airplane. This is one of the earlier ones built, and it runs 2 OS-91s in it. It's a super good flying airplane. It's a pretty good size airplane, but it really works well. The only difference in these, of course, it's a twin engine. It takes a little more time to get them dialed in and try to get them running pretty well synced together, but once you do, then it really is a good flyer. We've had a lot of fun with it. It has brakes on the wheels. It doesn't, this particular one doesn't have the speed brake on, but really doesn't need it. It works quite well. Okay, this is a Byron Originals F16 that I just got finished about 2 months ago, and to dress this one up a little bit, we've got some stuff on this one that I don't normally put on them, but wanted to get into something a little nicer, so we've put an operationable canopy on it and a full cockpit and pilot. It has operationable speed brakes, and it has an adjustable tail cone, and just dressed it up a little bit, trying to show what it can be done, you know, if you want to do it. Okay, the adjustable tail cone, I haven't had a lot of time to test it, but it's going to give you just a little more thrust when you close it down, once you get off the ground. When you're sitting on the ground, you want to open it up as far as it'll go, and once it takes off, you dial it down a little bit, you're going to get a little more thrust out of it. Like I say, I haven't been able to test it, but I think it's in the area of maybe 8 miles an hour or so that I understand. But it's pretty new to me, but we're still working on that. Okay, this model is an A7K Corsair that I scratch built myself about 2 years ago. And we've been flying it ever since. It's a fiberglass fuselage and foam wing cores, and it flies quite well. It's got an OS91 in this airplane, and it weighs about 16¼ pounds. It has Byron Original landing gear in it, and it works real well. I had a real good time with it. Yeah, it flies real well. It's a good platform. It takes off in a pretty short time. It's pretty stable. I mean, it flies real well. It looks good in the air, and it's pretty smooth. Yeah, I'd just like to say that Byron Originals are very good planes. They're good for the beginner, and even for somebody that's been in the hobby for a while can have a good time, and they're really nice airplanes.
This is Lowell Wexler's Jet Hangar Hobbies Kafer. This aircraft took best scale finish at the IMS show in Pasadena, California. Notice the excellent cockpit detail, the workable hatch, canopy area, and the retract doors, scale doors on the retracts. Mike Goolsby, all the way from Toledo, Ohio, with his first ducted fan aircraft. This is the A4 Skyhawk. Real nice color scheme. And notice the detail in the panel lines there. And here Mike goes. Nice liftoff. Gear up. And the A4 is on another mission. Nice flyby. This is Mike's first ducted fan jet, and he also took the honors for the best performance of a first jet, sponsored by JPO. And the Skyhawk returns from another mission. Good job. Keith Sullivan is Top Gun F18 Eagle, powered with OS91, Byron fan. Keith says this is a good jet trainer to begin with, and the F-15 is in the air. Has good grass field performance, functional rudders, and it's very visible with that white and red color scheme. Here's a high-speed flyby. Nice flyby. Finishing up a point roll there. And here Keith comes in. Looks like he's going to land, but nope. Hits the power, pulls up, goes around, decides to abort that landing. Now he's bringing her back around into the pattern. Going to bring that F18 Eagle back home. Slowing her up. Nice touchdown. Good job by Keith Sullivan. Harry Woods with his Cessna Citation all the way from Long Beach, California. Weighs 20 pounds and is from a Royal kit. This aircraft is modeled after Disney's corporate executive aircraft, and Harry contacted Disney to get the documentation to duplicate the color scheme. This year the pilots reported to be Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck as co-pilot. Last year the pilot was Goofy, and look what happens. Aircraft was totally destroyed. Very unfortunate mishap. Harry returns this year with his new Tommy Cat and a new Cessna Citation.
My name's Harry Woods. My wife Noreen, co-pilot. Bought 2 airplanes, a Citation and a Tommy Cat. Citation's a Royal kit. Has OS 25s in it with Hurricane fans. Has strobe lights on top and bottom, landing lights. Flies good. We got about 4 flights on it. Additional thing here is on the Citation, we have custom products, brakes, Bob Violet brakes put on. Rick Schaefer put them on for me, and they work excellently. They're light, good hard rubber, and I'm very pleased with them. And it should make the Citation fly better.
Here he comes on a high-speed flyby, and notice how well those OS 25s really push this Citation through the air. Nice roll. And gear down. Flying by to check, everything's down. Looks good, ready to set up a landing with the Citation. Now he's on final approach. Coming in very scale-like. Slows it up nice, a little touchdown. Mike Kolzak with his Republic F-84G Thunderjet. It's his own design, scratch built, weighs 21 pounds, has an 83-inch wingspan. Uses BVM 91 engine, Violet fan, JMP quiet pipe. Our hats off to Mike for designing and building this great aircraft. And during lunchtime, Bob Fiorenzi thrilled the crowd with the P-38 Lightning, a yellow aircraft kit. And folks, wait till you see this bird fly. Notice the scale oleo struts there with functional brakes, yellow aircraft brakes that is. This aircraft has a 100-inch wingspan, weighs 35 pounds, uses the Noi G38 engines for power. Those are Zinger 3-blade 18 6x10 props. And there it's being ran up for another flight. Notice the very scale-like sound of this aircraft as it powers up and roars to life for another mission. Gear up, scale sequencing on that gear retraction. And listen to those engines purr. Also uses a gyro for yaw control on the rudders. And here Bob flies by, downwind, high-speed flyby. This is one fabulous aircraft. Another flyby, hard turnout. Nice roll. Here the P-38's lined up on final approach. Nose high. Touchdown. Excellent job by Bob Fiorenzi. Meet Carberry from Abilene, Texas. Carl has developed a unique way of flying his radio-controlled aircraft. And here's Carl to tell us more about his unique method.
Hi, I'm Carl Berry from Abilene, Texas, and I'd like to introduce you to the Fan Trainer RFB 600. It's a homebrew version of a German trainer. Wingspan's 10 feet, length is 8 feet, weighs 31 pounds. It's powered by the Noi G38 with a 5-blade fan, 13 inches in diameter, and it turns about 9,100 turns. Produces 22 pounds of thrust. The unique thing about this aircraft is not only it's a big fan trainer using a gasoline engine, it's also equipped with a television camera, a Sony DXC101 high-resolution color camera, and transmits the picture back to the ground so the aircraft can be totally flown by TV. So what it amounts to is a homebrew, cheap and inexpensive RPV that anybody can build. Now we're going to go over to the cockpit console, which you fly this aircraft from. Get in the cockpit, sit down, fasten your safety belt, and you fly right from this cockpit. The TV picture from the aircraft is displayed on this 19-inch monitor along with the audio, so you can hear the engine run right here. The flying box is equipped with a 7UHF Fatava transmitting system, an encoder, which is located here and here, with all the controls spread out all over the box in the appropriate places for real aircraft control. Right here is the ailerons, elevators, and then down here, the throttle trim and elevator trim, and then located on the pedestal is the aileron trim and rudder trim. So what here on the dash here is the flap system, which operates the flaps in the fan trainer. Located at my feet is the remains of an old Mark I video game, a control wheel which has been converted to a rudder bar system with spring returns added, and that becomes your rudder. Located on the left side of the dash is an interphone system which lets the pilot talk to a safety pilot outside, and the whole system is operated as a master instructor and student trainee, with a student being the cockpit pilot. Okay, the receiver antenna receives the signal from the aircraft, goes through a preamp, and then right down to this receiver, video and audio from here to the TV set, and that's all there is to the video receiving equipment. The whole premise for the project was to build a system that used nothing but standard radio control parts. As you see here, these are the original gimbals out of the 7UHF, original throttle gimbals. All we had to do is add the rudders, and this being an old Sega Turbo arcade game, there used to be a gear shift right here where the throttle is. That gear and pot mechanism has been moved up here to the dash, and that is now used to operate the flaps. So the whole thing was made very inexpensively using standard RC components, amateur television components, and nuts and bolts right out of video games. Okay, now that we've shown you about the system, it's about time to take a flight. So we'll get started here and then take you for a ride in the fan trainer.
Now we're inside the fan trainer. Thumbs up, engine started, and here we go. This is a real treat. For once, you actually get to see what it feels like to be inside a radio-controlled aircraft. This system provides a unique in-the-cockpit view And at this time, Telstar Video is constructing a similar system to provide not only in the cockpit, but air-to-air footage. Here we go, just like in a full-scale aircraft. There goes the runway down underneath us. Feels like we're flying in a full-scale aircraft. Right turn out. Turn back around a little to the left. Holding our heading. There's the runway. We keep coming around. We're going to see everybody down below us. There we are. And back down the runway. Making a left turnout, viewing the horizon. Keep in mind that Carl is flying this aircraft in this cockpit setup completely without being able to see the aircraft, only to watch his TV monitor. There the fan trainer does a nice overhead flyby. And lining up down the runway. Level off, nice flyby right down the runway. Now Carl's climbed to about 800 feet AGL. We get a nice view of Austin, Texas and Bergstrom Air Force Base. Unfortunately, the throttle stuck at about 25% power and Carl had to fly the aircraft until it ran out of fuel. And there's the Air Force Base, the runways. Now we can hear the engine starting to stutter, running out of fuel, and there it goes. Now notice the air flowing over the airfoil. You can hear the wind, as now he's committed to land and has to glide back to the runway. Got plenty of altitude. Looks like he's in good shape. Got the nose down, keeping up a good angle of descent. Setting up on final approach. And there comes the flaps down. Notice the change in the air you hear going around, the little bobbling there. That's the extra lift created. Now we're committed. Notice how we're descending harder. Notice the two people trying to run off the runway. That's Sean and Bob Violet chasing a runaway canopy. And here's what our backup pilot sees. Here's what our in the cockpit pilot sees. A little bounce on the touchdown, but excellent job. This is Lowell Wexler's Jet Model Products F4 Phantom, nicknamed the Great Pumpkin. Uses OS91 for power, Dynamax fan. Last year was the first time this aircraft flew and had to make an emergency landing. Notice the excellent cockpit detail. Notice the restraining hook there. This aircraft is patterned after a drone aircraft located at Point Mugu in Southern California. And Lowell prepares the starting shaft to send the Great Pumpkin on another flight. Great Pumpkin is off for another flight. Piloted again by Joe Grice. Strong climb out, gear up. And the F4 climbs to altitude and here she goes, nice flyby. Very scale, very realistic, nice roll. And as you may notice, here he comes by. Notice there's only one exhaust from one of the engines. Again, our cameraman notices this, tries to warn the pilot before he turns downwind. Actually, he doesn't realize it. He goes into that roll. It's sloppy and very slow. He's struggling to regain airspeed. Now he's turned downwind. He's trying to get back into the wind, but this aircraft will not fly with just one engine, and it's coming down. There's nothing pilot can do but get it level and minimal damage. Here in slow motion, Joe's trying to turn and get back into the wind. And if you notice carefully, you can only see one exhaust stream from the back of that F4. Now he levels up to try to minimize the damage to the aircraft. He does an excellent job in keeping it flat and level, keeping it from stalling, and getting it back on the ground.
What are you going to do, huh? Next year I'm going to Disneyland.
Ladies, ever had a bad hair day? Watch this landing. It's what pilots call bad landing day. Just abusing this little Maverick. This just shows the strength of this kit. Normally the retracts will be sticking through the wings now. Now in slow motion you can see more accurately what the aircraft goes through as it bounces and how jarred and how violently the impact is. There it hits the wingtip first, ricochets off the runway, back on the wingtip, almost on the knife edge, hard on that nose gear. Amazingly how tough. This would have totally destroyed a full-scale aircraft. This is one way you don't want to land your jet aircraft. Misses the runway, then rolls it over. In slow motion. Misses the runway, touches down, figures it might be rough on the landing gear, so he rolls it over to see what it looks like from the bottom side up. The same pilot coming in again, touches down and pulls up the gear, and he's safe. And where's that guy that was laughing at my first landing, huh? Where is he? Ah, there he is. Yeah, you're the one. Yeah, I teach you to laugh at my landings, now in slow motion. Have to admit, he's consistent. Yep, go left. I can go left too. Yeah, I'll show you to laugh at my landings. Come back here, come back here. And Rick Schaefer sends out the Keystone Cops to find the pilot of that aircraft. Colonel Bob Thacker with his quarter scale BD-10 uses Pico 90 with a Hurricane fan, weighs 18 pounds, and it's the only 1/4 scale ducted fan flying today. And the BD-10's on its takeoff roll. Our hats off to Colonel Bob as he scratch builds all of his aircraft. He's also well known for the Ryan X-13 vertical takeoff experimental aircraft. He's also built a Saab 37B. He also built an executive turboprop for OMAC, who used it as proof of concept flight test model. And here Colonel Bob does a flyby. Right turnout. And here Colonel loses the engine, had to make an emergency landing with relatively little damage to the aircraft. He gets the wings almost level there before it hits. See the nose flex and the canopy come off, but it could have been a lot worse. Good job by Colonel Bob Thacker on saving that aircraft. F-18 Hornet prepares to take off. As you'll see in a moment, the control linkages in the aircraft are very important. Notice the aircraft fly by, notice the wings and the ailerons fluttering. This kind of situation, a full-scale aircraft can cause an aircraft to destroy itself. The high harmonic vibration that occurs there. This pilot's fortunate those wings stayed together and he's able to bring the aircraft back safely in one piece. And the F-18 Hornet returns safely. Here the XP70 is flying by. There's a downwind flyby. And we've lost power, got to go downwind. Notice how the nose is high and the pilot does an excellent job landing the aircraft out of sight. Nice clean break. It looks like it's a major problem, but this aircraft can be repaired relatively easily, and it's minor damage to the main body of the fuselage and just the nose gear pulled out. This is Tom Cook's F4 Phantom with twin OS91s and a pair of Dynamax fans. And note this beautiful color scheme, the bicentennial color scheme. Probably the prettiest and most colorful color scheme ever on an F4 Phantom. And the F4 prepares to take off. Takeoff roll. Absolutely beautiful airplane. Rotate. Gear up. Very scale-like retracts. Tom is preparing to fly through the radar traps to see how fast this F4 will fly. And here he comes through the guns now. Clocked at 165 miles an hour. This is unprecedented as one of the fastest twins flying today. There's another high-speed flyby, upwind. And the F4 comes in on short final approach. And as she settles in, and unfortunate that the radar gun is on the edge of the runway, and Tom gets a little over to the side and boom, it hits the radar gun. Some damage to the aircraft. Very unfortunate mishap. Aircraft. There's no way he can see what's ahead of him. And not knowing exactly where that radar gun is, accidentally runs into it. The aircraft is repairable, but it really messes up the day. Now we have Chris Hume with his new Aggressor 3. Chris is employed with Bob Violet Models and one of his pilots. And Chris also took the awards for top speed with 220 miles an hour through the traps. Look at that Aggressor 3 go. Amazing performance. One very sleek aircraft. This is like a flying missile. And Chris sets up the Aggressor 3 for landing, slows it up. Nice landing, good touchdown. John Alberry from North Laurentian Hills, Texas, flying his jet model product Starfire 2. Sport jet, uses OS91 and Dynamax fan and JMP air retracts. And the Starfire taxis out. Takeoff roll, and she's airborne. Nice clean liftoff, gear up. Use the Futaba 7-channel radio for guidance. And John's been flying jets for just 1 year. Looks like a pair of those Starfires up there. And Starfire comes back in for landing. Nice touchdown. Good job by John Alberry. Keith Sullivan with his Bob Violet Models Viper, powered with a Bob Violet's 91, and Keith's airborne and gear up. You notice in a minute here, Keith blasted through the radar traps at 208 miles an hour. He's got that Viper cooking. Here he comes again. She's really moving out. And back in for a landing with the Viper. Slowing it up, leading off airspeed. Nice landing. James Stevens, El Zulu, from Relmond Model Works, weighs in at 13 pounds, uses OS91 for power. This is a new release kit, and it's a sport jet. Very nice aircraft. And here's the one that James is going to fly for us to give us a flight demo. There's a shot down the duct tube, the exhaust duct area. And here El Zulu goes for takeoff. Up, gear up. Real clean, real nice looking aircraft. High speed flyby, has excellent performance. pulls vertical. And in for a landing, El Zulu comes. Nose up, nice touchdown. Nice little sport aircraft. Bill Fowler with his Byron F-16 Falcon. Departs a runway and gear up. Weighs in at 12 pounds, has a 47-inch wingspan. Uses OS91 engine for power. Here Bill does a flyby, does a nice point roll for us. Very clean. And back in for a landing. Bleeding off that airspeed, slowing it up. Nice touchdown. Bill Holland and his A7D. This is a new kit from ETA Models. Weighs in at 16 pounds. Uses KMB 82 for power and a Byron fan. Spring air retracts. Large aircraft, but she gets around good. They're making a turn back downwind. Uses JR PCM 10 radio for guidance. And here she comes in, slowing up nicely. Nice touchdown. When we return, we have an interview with Lynn McCauley and his fabulous B-58 Hustler. Lynn McCauley's first attempt at setting out to successfully build and fly a B-58 Hustler ended in tragedy. 2 years later, he returns for another attempt for a successful flight.
My name is Lynn McCauley. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. The gentleman over here with me is Charlie Fondon. He's from Fort Worth, Texas also. This particular model is a model of the B-58 Hustler, which was the world's first supersonic bomber. This particular model is modeled after a plane that won the Bendix Trophy and several other trophies back in its time, which was in the early 60s. This particular plane is preserved at the Air Force Museum at Wright-Patterson. This model is as close to scale as we can make it. This particular model is about 124 inches long, has a 78-inch wingspan, and has a gross takeoff weight of 50 pounds. The plane is powered by 4 OS-46 engines with custom-made stators and shrouds with a Violet rotor that has been turned down to fit. The plane has been in development off and on for several years. The first one was built and crashed about a week before the 1991 fan fly. This one wasn't ready for the last the 92 fan fly, and then we got this one test flown and got it ready to fly for this fan fly, which we flew yesterday. Everything on this model is basically custom made. The landing gear was handmade, works just like the real one. The landing gear has been, as far as its function, has been relatively trouble-free. They had some problem with bent struts and everything because the airplane does weigh 50 pounds and it's pretty hard on the landing gears. The model is basically conventional construction. The fuselage and the engine nacelles are made out of fiberglass molded parts, which we've made the plugs, the molds, and all the tooling for those parts. The wing and tail are conventional foam with 1/16 balsa with a coat of fiberglass cloth and resin over them. The finishes is regular KMB epoxy. We got this plane flown and we'll probably hang it up. It's very difficult to keep everything working at the same time on the plane. This particular airplane has got about, I believe, 6 flights on it. It's got about 12 minutes flying time and about an hour's taxiing time, I believe, just to make sure everything is working, the steering working properly, and so forth. Like I said, it's very difficult to keep everything working, the engine's all running, and all the systems working in it. By the way, my pilot's name is Lee Rice. He's a longtime modeler, scale modeler. He participates in Top Gun and the Scale Masters and so forth all the time. So he's the Magic Thumbs guy.
Here, the big B-58 Hustler does a high-speed flyby, and our hats are off to the technical and engineering skills it took to make this massive aircraft fly and do such a superb job with it. And landing gear down, B-58 Hustler cleared to land on the runway, 18. It's coming down, just getting nice and slow, bleeding off airspeed. See how she still wants to float. Now more elevator, nice, very scale-like landing. Excellent job by Lynn McCauley and crew. This is just one stunning aircraft. Tom Robertson with his Bob Violet F-16C. Weighs in at 13.5 pounds, 41-inch wingspan. This aircraft took the best scale finish of the show. And it's no wonder Tom did an excellent job on all the markings. Notice that excellent detail, all the inscription, all the plaque cards. Drop tanks and bombs on it. This concludes the flying portion of the 11th Annual Southwest Fan Fly. And up next, the award ceremonies. Best Performance First Jet, sponsored by JPO, went to Mike Goolsby. Craftsmanship Award, sponsored by Dry Set, Mike Kulzek. Technical Achievement, sponsored by Custom Model Products, Kent Nogi, his Turbo Viper. Critics' Choice, sponsored by Power Masters, Todd Nicholson's MiG29 Fulcrum. Best Sport Finish, sponsored by Model Airplane News, Jerry Coddles Maverick. Best Scale Flight, Carl Spurlock. Target Speed, achieved by Eldon Bennett with his F89. Fastest Jet at 220 miles an hour went to Chris Hune with his Aggressor 3. Best Scale Finish with his F-16, Tom Robertson. Technical Achievement and Pilot's Choice Award, sponsored by Model Airplane News, went to Lynn McCauley and his B-58 Hustler. Best Freestyle Performance went to Mike Stokes with his Maverick.
Well, here we are at the end of the 11th Annual Greater Southwest Fan Fly. We certainly hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen for the last 2 days. We've certainly enjoyed being your host. We look forward to seeing you at the 12th Annual Greater Southwest Fan Fly, which I'll announce to you right now will be at Monaville, Texas, which is just outside of Houston at the famous Bomber Field facility. We're going to be working in conjunction with those folks next year to bring you the 12th Annual Greater Southwest Fan Fly. Again, we're so happy that you were with us this weekend. We look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you and have a great year.